Canine Detection Collaborative, a detection dog training trio with Stacy Barnett.
Hi.
Robin Grubel.
Hey there.
And Crystal Wing.
What's up?
With humor and a big dose of theory, our trio talks practical training advice and features interviews with top trainers and scientists. It's Canine Detection Collaborative.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Canine Detection Collaborative podcast. I'm Robin Grubel, and I am here with Crystal Wing.
Hello.
And all the way from Spain, we have Jo-Rosie joining us. And I am going to actually let her introduce herself because we're all fangirls, but we want to make sure that everybody knows who Jo-Rosie is. So tell us all about you.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's brilliant to be here. I've been really excited about this podcast, so it's awesome to see you ladies and to see your faces as well. My name is Jo-Rosie Haffenden. I am an animal behaviourist. I suppose I'm a canine science lecturer these days, but I have been an animal behaviourist and a dog trainer for about 16 years. I went to university and did a degree in psychology, and then I did a post-grad in animal behaviour. And from there, I jumped into the rescue world and worked at a rescue centre before becoming an expert witness. The pit bulls took me by the hand and pulled me in that direction. And so I worked with a lot of dogs that got in trouble, mainly through human aggression as well as through type. So their breed being pit bulls, mainly a couple of dogos, but it was mainly pit bulls. And then from there, if you fast forward about 5 years, where in between that time, I kind of started my own business and grew the business and had like 8 staff and stuff like that. But I was lucky enough to be asked to present a television show, a primetime television show for Channel 4. That was called Rescue Dog to Super Dog. And we did that as a series. And then we started lecturing for various different institutions, including universities. And then we did another series called Teach My Pet to Do That, which was for ITV, which is another primetime TV channel in the UK. And then I was asked to do another show, the one that we don't talk about, which was Train Your Baby Like a Dog. So then I did that one, which got quite a lot of controversial both support as well as unsupport. And then
I saw some things on that, online.
Intense, man. We can talk about it, but it was intense. And then in between then, so when did we start School of Canine Science? We started School of Canine Science around Rescue Dog to Super Dog time. So we started a way of which we could train dog trainers. And then we took that online. And now we run one of the leading online schools for dog trainers in the world, actually, which is an absolute honour and a privilege. So I do that with myself, my partner, Nando Brown, and our very good friend, Dean Nicholas. And I think that's it. I mean, in my spare time.
Yeah. What do you do for fun?
5 years old. Yeah. So for fun, I have a child. So we build stuff. He's 5. And we catalogue a lot of insects. That's what we spend most of our time doing nowadays. And then I also have 8 dogs. So I have, I've got to do the head count now. So I have 5 Malinois, 4 of which are working. And then I have a Hungarian Vizsla, Bulldog, and a Springer Spaniel. And then we also have kind of like a revolving door system of fosters that we rehab and rehome here in southern Spain. I think that's it. We play Mondio a lot. So that's probably what people will see if they go on our social media channels, is we do a lot of Mondioing, which is a protection sport, which is very, very popular here in Spain.
So I'm just sitting here with my mouth open going, oh my God, I'm exhausted just listening to that. Wow. So the School of Canine Science, how, did that start as like a back of an envelope idea, or where did that all come from?
Well, it first started when I started getting asked by universities to come and give lectures, which was cool. And I really enjoyed doing that. So I started doing that for a little bit. And on the side of that, I was using my contacts in the rescue world to get trainers into rescue centres to train a very specific handling protocol, which I call dog yoga, which is like a permission-based handling protocol. And so I was running these kind of courses for dog trainers in these various rescue centres, partly to train them this protocol and partly because a lot of dog trainers weren't able to get the kind of experience that you get in rescue kennels without actually working in a rescue kennel. So it was giving them the ability to come in and work with these dogs. So I was doing that. Meanwhile, Nando was doing similar things. So he was living in Spain at the time. And he was bringing people out to Spain to work with a lot of the street dogs over here. And he was also lecturing for different institutions. And when we got together, we kind of went, well, why don't we just do that? Like, why don't we just do that? We've got loads of ideas. We've got loads of courses, like ideas for courses. That's how it started. So it was all offline to start with. It gave us an amazing opportunity to travel. We traveled to everywhere, you name it, really. Australia, New Zealand, the States, across Europe. We did 36 flights in the first year of Santino's life. So
wow,
he was
my gosh,
very well traveled.
Yeah.
So we traveled prolifically, and then what happened actually in reality, not a lot of people know this, but what happened in reality was we were getting really fed up of the quadrant, right? We were getting really fed up. We were like, it's driving us insane, like the misunderstandings about it and how those misunderstandings are being miscommunicated to create problems that aren't really there in reality, and certainly aren't there in the reality of practically dog training. And in fact, most of them aren't even there in the reality of theory, because it all comes from lots of misunderstandings of Skinner's work. And so we were like, we should do something about that. And we're like, how can we do that to get it to the most amount of people? And to start with, we were like, I know, let's make a very small little course that we could sell for maybe $5 online about learning theory. And then we just opened Pandora's box, really. Meanwhile, we found Dean at a Welsh dog show that we were judging. And he entered the tricks class that Nando was judging. I judged the Bullberry class. He judged the tricks class. Nando was judging the tricks class, and in walked this guy who did this incredible routine. Like, you've got all these dog owners who are like, my trick is my dog's holding a sausage, and my trick is my dog can do a beg. And Dean came out and did the most incredible, like, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, like, routine, right? And the idea is that the top 3 get chosen, they have to re-perform their act. And he performed it the second time, and no word of a lie, it was exactly the same as the first time. Like, you could write a ruler where the dog was moving and stuff. And we were like mind blown. Who is this dog trainer? Like, where has he come from? Who is he? So he won. And then afterwards, his then girlfriend came over and said, like, really sorry, could my boyfriend get a selfie with you? Like, he's a massive fan. And so we were like, who are you? Like, where are you from? You're amazing. He was just a dog owner. He was like, oh, I'm just a dog owner and just really enjoy training. And actually, I've kind of signed up to one of your courses, but I don't know if it's going to be a bit beyond me because I'm just a dog owner. And so fast forward, he did that course. He got the highest. It's a course called the Force Free Trick Trainer, FFTT. And the pass rate of that course is less than 40%. Like, it's a really low pass rate because it has like a practical exam and a written exam and all kinds of stuff they have to do. And he got the highest score we've ever had. Like, he got like 98 point something percent, to the point where his trick that he had to do, one of the assessments is about criteria. And the trick that he decided to do with his Australian Shepherd, Sydney, was a crawling trick. And Nando said to him, he said, oh, my criteria is that he has to crawl 30 centimetres. And so Nando said to him, well, you know, how can you tell what is 30 centimetres? Like, how can you tell that this is 30 centimetres? No word of a lie. He whips a ruler out of his back pocket and places it down. I've got a marker here, a marker here. And we were like, mind blown. Crazy. So we just basically adopted him from that moment onwards and got him to do a bunch of stuff for us, got us to do some backstage training for one of our TV shows. And then when we came up with this idea, it really made sense to bring him on board, because he has like years and years spent in businesses, and particularly online businesses, in turning businesses that were broken into good businesses. So that and the dog training, we were like, come in. And then as soon as he started working with him, we were like, this is like the ultimate little gang. Like, we worked really well together. But when we started putting together that learning theory thing, it grew from being just about Skinner and the quadrant to then like, oh, well, we have to teach Pavlov. We can't teach Skinner without Pavlov, right? Like,
you can't.
you have to do classical as well. Otherwise people aren't going to understand, like, when associations are built that aren't a consequence of something, why, like, how that's different and why it's important that you know that difference. But then we were like, well, you can't teach. And it just grew and grew and grew until we were teaching like CAMIN and avoidance learning and all this other stuff. And then we were like, well, the thing is, if we're going to teach all this theory, really, we should apply it somehow. So then we did a whole application piece, and basically it grew, and we spent over a year on it, and made Puppy Lab. And then after we made Puppy Lab and released it, we were like, let's just do this. This is way better than anything else. We can reach tons and tons more people, like thousands of people. And the most exciting thing for me about teaching online is that when you're teaching in person, you walk into a room and you have to make a really quick judgment call as to who is the lowest level learner and who is the highest level learner, and where is your largest group of averages, as in, are there more here at the top or are there more here at the bottom? And then you have to pitch your material in the right way that's going to engage the lowest person, is going to challenge the majority, but isn't going to be too familiar to the top people. So you have to throw some stuff in there that's going to blow their minds as well. And that's hard to do. And you don't know where there are knowledge gaps. Like you can't, it's very difficult, even when you're getting questions and stuff, it's very difficult to go, I think there's a knowledge gap here. And I think and what's beautiful about online learning and what we do at School of Canine Science is that we go right from zero. Like we can teach definitions because you have literally all day. As long as it takes. And we've always we try not to let the courses grow too out of hand, although it's a bit of a running joke for us. We try not to let them grow too out of hand. But the idea is, if we were to put that course into any room of learners, it would teach the person at the bottom enough knowledge that they could become the person at the top, and it will still challenge that person at the top. And that's exciting because you just can't do that on a 2 or 3 day course.
And that's something that I've really appreciated. So I've taken your 30 days, your Puppy Lab, your Business in a Box, the Scent for Six, and I was like right on time. Scent for Six, I don't think I missed hardly anything. I was right there with you guys. And then Behavior Bible, not so much. I'm way behind in there.
I would jump. My tip would be to jump onto the last module.
Super.
Definitely how I designed it. Well, it's definitely how we wrote it and how we designed it. So if you do that sociology, if you're struggling in the middle with like neurobiology and endocrinology and that like a really hard ass, deep stuff, then if you hit up sociology, it will give you enough application tidbits from those that you'll go, oh, I want to understand that now.
I love the way you guys teach. And when you're talking about you start at the ground floor, I will say absolutely yes, because especially the Scent for Six, that's something that I didn't have much experience at all when it came to any sort of olfaction. And the way you presented it for teaching air movement and the geeking out part and the olfaction. And I'm probably going to say it wrong. Was it the Jacobson's organ? Was that the one in the top of the mouth? And so that was a huge deal for me to understand the chattering boy that I have and, why he kept doing that and these things I had never thought of before. And it helped me read the dogs better. And then how you pull from so many different places, but then you also give credit. And that's something that I found really huge. You have so much attribution that you do. And so that takes me in new rabbit holes that I get to learn even more. And even if someone didn't like all the geeking out, which I really do, the drills and the skills that you do and that you share there are just unbelievable. So I really appreciate how you've put all that together. When you say that, you try not to do too much. Yeah, whatever, girl.
Honestly, you don't understand how much we rein back. Like, I'm the worst for it. I've always joked about it because I'm just like, I know, but maybe. So in Scent for Six, when we were doing some of the geek outs, like we got to a point where me and Dean were sitting there and discussing the fact that you're like, because of quantum physics, basically, your finger, like you think you're touching stuff, but you never actually touch anything. So when you think your hands are together like this, they're not actually together because you're never touching anything. And we started like talking about this stuff and we're like, maybe we should include this. And Nando's there going, no, please don't. Please don't. We don't need to go through that stuff. Like, we don't need it. And we're like, yeah, no, but it's really interesting. And I think the three of us make a good a good team, because we met from like all of the different courses, especially Scent for Six. I think Nando trains prolifically when it comes to scent work. Like when I first met Nando, he was just obsessed. I think more obsessed really even than he is now about Mondio. But he was just, scent work was his like life, like the practicalities of it and the nuances of the skills and stuff. And I'd always really enjoyed like nose work, but I'd never really got much deeper than sort of your average Joe sports nose work. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's kind of the level that I was at with the practice of my dogs until I met Nando. And then the bit that I just loved was and was obsessed about at university was like the social scenting. And I call it social scenting, but that doesn't give it enough credit. What I'm talking about is just the fact that the whole dog's perception of the world is through olfaction. And I've always been obsessed with like, do dogs dream in scent? And if we were to undo the memories of a dog, would those memories and objects be scent memories and objects rather than our visuals? And if that is the case, then when they grieve, do they feel an emotion through a scent the same way that we feel an emotion? And we can say, well, then the emotion would look like this. Do they think that an emotion smells like, can they perceive that sort of thing? And you know, the fact that dogs can see into the future using scent as well as see into the past means that they're living in this kind of like completely different reality. I was always obsessed with that side of things, which Nando hadn't really thought about that much. And Dean, being the way that he is, which is incredibly, everything is straight line, black and white, and has to be perfect, meant that he came in and he wanted to unpick some of these thought processes and some of these practices and say, in exactly what way is the scent different when it is residual? And things like that. So he wanted to really unpick it. Why is like oxidization? What exactly is that? Like, it's easy to say the word and say, well, actually, when the air gets to it, it becomes, what does that mean? What does that look like? What is that reality in tiny pixels kind of thing? And so I think in Scent for Six, we came together in quite a different way than the way that we came together in something like 30 Days, where we were all on the same page, because actually in Scent for Six, we're all on very different pages, which is really enjoyable, actually.
And you could see that. And that's what I loved about how you bounced your energies off of each other in the way you presented. And you could really feel that too. It was such a great team kind of environment the whole time through. I'm stuck on this whole grieving through scent thing. And I'm a jerk though. My old dog Quinn, he's blind and he's 12 years old. And he's my retired Mondio and IGP dog. And when he's dreaming, he dreams a lot. I kind of pick on him, but I've done scent stuff to him where I'm like, I'll have something and I'll even just my shoe and you can totally see how it impacts their dreaming. Yeah. Just letting them smell different things as they're dreaming and what that does. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, poor Quinn.
That thing when they have a nightmare where you just put your hand a little bit in front of them to go like, yes. Smell like here. I hope that like interrupts your nightmare and gives you some level of comfort.
Or I just became part of his nightmare, one of the two. I hope not.
The other thing that's always blown my mind about it, like, this is a very philosophical question, but I wonder if, let's say you've got a Vizsla who was born in the city and has never seen a rabbit, right? Do you think that she can dream of the scent of a rabbit?
If they've never seen it, but they've smelled it?
Never seen it. Never smelt it either.
But when they're dreaming, to let them smell it?
Yeah. Do you think that? So, for example, I've dreamed when I was a kid. I used to dream about dinosaurs. Right. I've never seen a dinosaur, but I can imagine what a dinosaur looks like. And like, there's lots of evidence that babies dream, and like their world is very small, isn't it? But they can use different faces and sounds, and you know, you can make things up in your dream. And we often, you know, you can imagine things that don't exist quite easily. And often that does happen in a dream. I wonder, you know, when you see, like, I know of dogs, and particularly, I don't know why I think of gun dogs, but particularly like bird dogs, it seems to be, you know, the chasing dreams that I have.
Yes.
And I know dogs that have never experienced anything like that. And it makes me think, I wonder what's going on in your olfactory brain right now as you're chasing this like you appear to be chasing this thing in your dream. Like, I wonder if they've built, based on other scents like squirrels in the park, and I wonder if they built this scent picture of a creature akin to whatever it is that they've been designed to chase, like through that biological need for it, and built this picture in their head with scent. Like, I wonder if in their dream they're running through a park chasing, running through an imagined setting that is similar to that of a field, chasing a creature that's running away that is massively biologically satisfying, even though they've never actually been off the lead, never actually experienced that in real life.
But what about cellular memory? So let's say that like my best friend Nancy was talking about that a couple of days ago. We were just kind of chatting, and the idea is that, like, I don't want anybody to touch my face or my throat. Like, just don't touch that. And then learning that my dad is the same way. And so we were kind of talking about how the idea of cellular memory, like maybe there was something that traumatic happened in the womb, and then that carried on in the cellular memory, and then that carried on to me as well. And so maybe with the dogs,
maybe their cellular memory lives within that place of olfaction.
Yeah, it'd be something to think about.
We often have the conversation that where the mother dog is at is what kind of affects on some of her babies, right? As puppies is what they come out prepared to deal with. So maybe some of that's passed down in maybe mom chased a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, sure. while they were pregnant, I don't know,
And highly likely that mom and grandma, and, if it's a working line, it's, there is most definitely some genetics in there that is going to, we see it when it comes to behavior and training, we see it as a predisposition towards a specific behavior. But actually, when you dig a lot deeper and think about an animal that doesn't have any experience of that, and you think about how that, not so much how that must feel, but how that must think inside a conscious brain, like, it just makes you think, like, can they imagine it? There's a snake in a zoo. Imagine what it's like to slither across the desert. It's
right.
I say plausible.
Yeah.
If you want to imagine something really cool, try spending over 2 hours with Jo-Rosie Haffenden and Robin Grubel with Stacy Barnett there on the side. And, we do this in Zoom, so we get to see each other. So even though Stacy isn't there, talking, we still get to see her reactions, and she's still sending us questions and messages. And so what's happened is Jo-Rosie had so much to share, and it was so just impactful. It did take us a little while to process everything. And so now it's going to become multiple episodes. So today we are back with Robin Grubel.
Hello.
And Stacy Barnett is here in person.
How you doing?
So I'm super excited to go ahead and discuss what we just heard from Jo-Rosie. And then we have, again, over 2 hours that we get to continue over the next few episodes. So what would you ladies like to talk about here?
It was fascinating to hear her whole entire story and where she came from going out and doing seminars to meeting Dean and Nando and all of those sorts of things, and how each one of those meetings kind of changed how everything evolved. And then the evolution of the School of Canine Science is wonderful.
Yeah, it's really amazing how we just sometimes get put into situations where we make the right connections to meet and work with people that may be across the country, right, from where you are, and that you find a way to collaborate with them, and it turns into something really, really incredible. And
wow, sounds sort of like what we did, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, we did just celebrate our 1-year anniversary. So that was just this last week for Stacy and me getting to meet each other. And then
that was crazy.
Robin, a year and a half.
Well, and even Stacy coming out to meet me, that all kind of like hatched.
It did.
Right, sitting next to the chickens at the farm.
I know on our Facebook posts too, like on our social medias, we've been very reflective. Because I know, Robin, you have your big anniversary of everything that you've created with Canine Census. And Just recently, I've created my CB Canine and, making that kind of, I feel like I'm living two lives. And nothing like starting an online functional obedience class at the same day that I start back at my year 21 in a high school, because that's a great idea.
Yep.
But it goes from those connections. Wow, to think that, it's kind of similar with Dean and, with Nando and Jo-Rosie, that, Jo-Rosie and Nando are out doing their thing and judging. And then all of a sudden Dean shows up as a student, they see his training chops. And I mean, even there, I kind of feel like we might have a touch of a connection there, even where I'm begging you to get into your online class. And then, hopefully you saw my training chops, and, that's how that connection made.
Yeah. And to watch with how, Nando was really, really interested in odor work. And so that fueled sort of Jo-Rosie's maybe sort of interest in, do Vizslas who grow up in the city actually know what a rabbit smells like, and never having seen or smelled a rabbit.
Yeah, that blew my mind a little bit. I'm going, whoa.
But I love that imagination piece. And that's something that I've always thrived off of, like with her posts and kind of the way she presents things. I always feel her curiosity. And I'm always, talking about like imagination's our best tool. Yeah. And I love that idea of kind of undetectable odors, or that's always just something fascinating to me. Are there some curiosity things that you guys have, with like sniffing and the dog's olfaction?
Since I am absolutely immersed in teenage puppy brain land. I was going to use a different word, but
is it a very dark place with lots of fire?
Yes, it was. Is to think about that teenage puppy brain and how it's reforming, and what's the right balance of training versus control versus putting gas in the engine and recognizing a fear period, and all of those things that you look at when you're trying to build a working dog. And I've really started deciding, everybody wants a recipe and a cookbook, right? This is how you build the dog. Check, 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 check.
Yeah.
And the answer is, even if
can I buy that? I'll buy that one.
Get in line. Hello.
Right.
Are you selling that one?
I wish.
My pre-order was already in, Crystal.
Oh, for the scent goggles too. I have ordered for that. Yeah.
Right.
You're a back order man. Forget it.
They are that, and the cookbooks on back order.
Yeah.
Because it's so, with the three puppies, I'm so seeing each one of them is at a different stage all of the time. And they're developing at different ways. And I have to be so cognizant and tuned into what they're doing, and where I need to shore up a little bit over here or build a little bit of courage over here. The other dog is like, nope, I got it. I'm good. Yeah. And so when you start getting into, I want that cookbook, I'm like, that's why I think progression plans are really important. I can give you the behavior that the dog is supposed to exhibit, and all of the dogs will exhibit that behavior, but some of them may want to go through a swamp to get there. And the other one's like, dude, let me take the freeway.
Yep.
And I just, that curiosity thing is where I'm at on how do really interested in puppy brain development. So that's my curious thing.
Okay. So basically, my curiosity right now, the thing I'm really, really getting into is, honestly, I'm kind of going into a different space with Brava, and it's super exciting. I don't know how much I can share just because it's a study. So, but I can say that she's a part of a study, and she is working a non-competitive target odor. So because it's a different target odor, what I wanted to do, or actually I called up Crystal and Robin and said, hey, is it possible to give my dog a different alert behavior for a different target odor? And I got a resounding yes. So I've been on this journey to teach her a trained final response that's very different than what her final response is for nosework odors for this other odor. And it's been so much fun for me lately just to explore training in a different way, because all of my dogs have been essentially trained on nosework the same way. So teaching her a trained final response, which is a sit, well, it's a sit stare, although I don't necessarily hold the criteria for the stare as much, and getting her onto this other odor and being able to see, even today, the difference in how that odor behaves in the environment compared to our essential oils. It blew my mind. Like literally, like when I did not age the sample, she went out and like, boom, 30 seconds. I aged it for 10 minutes and she searched for over 3 minutes. I'm like, whoa, this odor is behaving totally different. So like just kind of stuff like that for me is just really exciting to kind of see, you know, and that's kind of what gets me excited lately. It's just like trying something different, you know, something kind of stretches me a little bit and helps me to kind of, you know, go into other spaces and try things I don't necessarily need or have done for nose work. What about you, Crystal?
My curiosity right now is in my old dog. And I was thinking about, you know, with blindness, he's 12 and he can't see anymore, and how he's adjusting to the loss of his sight. And I would definitely say that it's easier for him than what I've seen for humans. And sometimes I think, oh, can he see? Because some of the things he does, he just looks so fluid, like, but he's done it his whole life because he could see before. So I get it. But then my other curiosity is, I know as we get older, our senses start to fade and they're not quite as good. And so does the dog's sense of smell also start to fade? So that's also been a curiosity thing that I've been having recently. And so even for the door, like I put one drop of oil on one side of the door and a different drop of oil on the other side of the door in the backyard. So that way, as he's coming over where the two smells kind of mix is kind of what I'm assuming is what he smells. But he used to run into the house and now he doesn't. So I know that something is happening smell wise that he's able to use. And just putting, you know, like a little drop on the side of the dishwasher door keeps him from crashing into the door and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I am wondering as he's getting older, if some of that sense of smell is going down a little, because I do notice even when he finds his toy in the field, maybe it's just because he's older and slower. I don't know, but it's just a curiosity that I have. Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, I can tell you just based on my own recent experience with Joey, and also my understanding is that the sense of smell is the last thing to go for dogs. But what I saw with Joey was that it was less the smell, and it was just a little bit more for him. It was more cognitive, I think. I think he would just kind of, you know, the pieces, like just trying to put all the pieces together. That's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for him. But I don't know if that just kind of sharing my experience with that with an older dog, you know.
For sure. And I was kind of wondering that with him as well, but I feel like he's still just so sharp. It's just a fascinating thing. I'm just curious about a lot of things. And here's another curiosity I have. So sometimes when I'm going to bed, I let my thoughts get a hold of me sometimes. And Radish thinks that she needs to be in my skin.
I'm sorry.
I know I'm alone in this. I'm very alone. And so when my mind starts to get places, you know, I can get my heart racing a little. I can feel that, you know, I can get that little bit of like, whoo. And it's nice that I have Radish who thinks she needs to be on my skin at all times. And so she's usually either on me or beside me or something. And I will actually find myself bringing myself down very quickly because I don't want to disrupt her rest. Because I know if she starts to smell any of my weirdness, whether it's the heart rate or the pheromones or whatever, I do know that it'll wake her up and she'll immediately be like, nope, needing your skin further. And I don't want that.
One of the comments that Jo-Rosie made that I really, really appreciated as an instructor was the concept of online learning, on how it sort of evens the board. So, and if you put enough in a class that the person at the most beginning level in the class can then reach the level of the person that's at the top of the class, and how that, and it's self-paced and all of those things, it relieves a lot of the pressure as an instructor when you walk into a seminar, or, we did distraction camp, and then had Crystal and I did 3 days of private training with some clients from Canada. And then we did a whole nother cadaver dog seminar, like all within 2 weeks.
Woohoo. I still haven't slept enough.
I know, it was very exhausting. And
school started the next day.
Right. Yeah. And I know, Stacy, you were out teaching a seminar in the weekend after distraction. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's all a blur, but
those 2 weeks were ugly, and you trialed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but walking into a class of that nature where you don't really know the skill levels, the timing, the observation levels, the theoretical knowledge of all of the students, that you can sort of watch them when you start explaining things, and either they get it and they're like, oh, or they start asking questions and you're like, okay, knowledge gap right here.
Exactly. And it's, you have to kind of do like these like mental gymnastics when you're teaching. And it's like literally you're doing this observation and you're drawing assumptions at the same time. It's like, okay, you did this, therefore you have these gaps. And then, or see how the handler handles, and you're like, okay, I can see you kind of you're working at this level. And then you have another team, you're like, well, you're working at kind of that level. Well, how do I make this exercise applicable for both of you in a way that you're both going to get something really powerful out of it?
And I feel like that's something that I've always thrived on, is that the idea of differentiated instruction and taking all those different levels together at the same time. Because as a art fundamentals teacher, I get all the kids that as a freshman in high school haven't had art since they were in elementary school, all the way to the kids that want to make it their profession, all in the same class.
Wow.
And so that's something that I've always loved. And then getting to do, I love coaching freshman sports, because it's, the same mix. It's the kids that have never touched that ball, or they don't even know the rules. They've never even done the thing before, to the kids that are going to be college bound playing that sport.
Right.
So that's like, oh, that's my jam. I love it so much. But I think that's where we did such a good job of designing our curriculum and really helping it flow. Working with the two of you at Distraction Camp was a dream come true.
It was amazing.
Oh, it was so perfect. And that's that collaboration piece that Jo-Rosie said.
It was amazing.
She's like, you bring the three right people together. And I feel like, I feel like we're such kindred spirits, like the three of us and the three of them. It's like, oh,
I know. It's so, I wish I could give you guys a group hug, like over Zoom.
I know.
Yes. Well, and Crystal, you were talking about how that's your jam. Well, you've also got your master's in education, whereas, I don't have that. And you went through, you understand pedagogy, and I hope I said that word right.
Yep.
You did.
Look at me go. And how
big word.
That was a big word. And have, went through an apprenticing process as an instructor with other teachers. And some of us, me, was, I just stepped into this role as an instructor and said, because
not just you.
Yes.
She's like, raise my hand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my background is chemical engineering. I've got, with some business thrown in there, but they don't teach us that stuff.
No. And I went through a class on how to teach community college when I was, that was my graduate degree, like last century.
Wow.
Literally.
Which degree?
Shush. It was my bachelor's
I like that
degree.
One, last century. I'm going to have to use that.
It was last century.
In the previous
century. Yes.
In a previous century, I did.
Maybe you like that. I don't like that.
That's hilarious.
Making me feel old.
I am old. I've just hit that. I'm okay. But even, and how you find people, whether it's through teaching or through just picking up a phone call and reaching out and saying, hey, I think this sounds interesting. And then hearing how she was talking about Dean came from such a different aspect when it came to odor work, that he was really interested about all of the little molecules and how that affected it. And listening to how those probably different descriptors, because Crystal, you've taken the class, I've just heard immensely awesome things about it from you.
Love it.
Right. Is how that was actually a richer experience for the students because they came at it from different views.
Well, and Nando brings in like tremendous amounts of video editing and B-roll, and it's just insane, the production that he put into it. So you put all of their technical knowledge and then all of the production. Whew. Ridiculous.
I just am amazed. I'm wondering when Jo-Rosie sleeps.
That's what I was curious too, because when you said, what do you do for fun? Oh, yeah, you guys going to get to know Jo-Rosie a lot.
Yeah, but you know what? Though her answer is probably the same as the answer of any of us who are self-employed.
She doesn't.
Right.
But how she has a kid though, man, you layer that in there in that part,
yes,
and he is the cutest little guy.
Okay, Uncle.
He's adorable.
Yeah. As soon as she, I was like, okay. And then the bug collecting. Oh, I love it. I did that too when I was a kid.
I was. What do you do for fun? I have a 5-year-old. What?
I collect bugs or classify bugs.
Yes. So it's just so, and it's fun to reach out to somebody who's across the pond.
Yes.
And figure and hear about kind of their world of how things evolve over there. Not like it's a different planet, but some days it feels like it, because I'm pretty sure they look at us in the United States and are like, what are you guys thinking?
Something I feel like we really carry some similarities to is we're always kind of stressing the dog as the learner. And I know they don't use those words specifically, but I feel like that's always ingrained into everything they do. And it's not just focused on one kind of dog, but all the different breeds and all the different kinds of humans as well. And so that, I think, is also a big connection that we have with them. Just constantly looking at it as the dog is the learner. And then I think they also want to train trainers. Yes. And I feel like that's what we have all focused on as well. So we have anywhere from this would be something fun to do all the way up into, the serious professionals that are training lots of other trainers and seeing that impact. And I know, Robin, we kind of talked about ripples.
Right.
And I think that's wow.
And watching the ripples, one of the most fun things for me has been seeing the students from distraction camp post how their experience of distraction camp has allowed them to do some other things
It's been amazing.
Wow.
Yes. And then the trainings with some of the the private trainings and things that we did is to get the feedback from the students on how they're able to actually go out and work with other handlers.
Wow.
And have them have aha moments. And, to all the students out there, I want you to know that we appreciate getting that, because on the days when it gets really rough, when you've been beaten up over Facebook for expressing an idea, we have all of those little notes of thanks packed in little tiny boxes in our brains, and we pull them out and we look at them as our shinies.
Yes.
This is why we do what we do. So we appreciate them.
And the fact that a lot of the distraction camp attendees even recognized the amount of work that went into the curriculum writing for that class.
Yes.
And the progressions. I think that's the first time, that probably the first time ever that I've had students recognize how much thought and planning went into something. And they were so grateful for that and recognized that they saw we got together before, we were getting together during, and it was very well planned out. And the three of us coming together as instructors, I love the different dynamic we brought to that.
Ditto. And and it was such a great group of people anyway. It was just, gosh, great group.
I do think the right balance of info, like she brings up, that's hard. And that's a problem that I know that I get beat up a little bit on. I wish you could see Robin's face. I'm always, but I want to give them more.
Yeah, that's an artist thing, though. And honestly,
I just want to give all the things.
At this point, like, I've lost count of the number of classes I've written at Fenzi Dog Sports Academy. Like, I put down a list and I'm like, whoa, I forgot I even taught that one. And you start to realize, you're like, like in the beginning when I wrote my first class, like, I had everything in it. And although it was a topic that, now I've taken it and I've like pulled it apart, I've expanded, I've put it back together again. But it's amazing how when you start to give people information, like you give them so much, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I can't focus on that. It's just, it is, that's the hard part. That's hard,
It's
really hard.
The balance, as Jo-Rosie was talking about, for giving them as much as they can handle.
Yep.
Because I know a lot of times I have handlers look at me and go, I'm drinking through a fire hose. And I'm like, I know. Yeah. You're going to remember about 10%. Yeah. It's okay. You know how to find me. Yeah. And having the ability to break things down into those bite-sized pieces. And that's why the Scent for Six, totally intrigues me, because that's 6 weeks of concentrated effort on
6 months.
Oh, it's 6 months. Well, never mind. But it's still 6 months. I thought it was 6 weeks, but it's 6 months. 6 months concentrating on nose work and doing a very specific type of progression plan.
Yep.
Think of the hundreds of repetitions your dog has had being successful in this little tiny progression plan for what they're teaching you to teach your dog to do. Because as you know, the School of Canine Science is about training trainers. So I just think it's really important for instructors to think about how are they laying out their classes so that your trainers that you're teaching can take the stuff home and apply it. And, as I was thinking and reminiscing about Canine Census coming out with the new look about 4 years ago and evolving from the Paws of Life Foundation.
I love that post, by the way.
Thank you.
I love that post.
That was, I never really publicly talked about how the theory into practice evolved in the whole entire Canine Census Paws of Life kind of world. And after if you count being a student and then working at Iowa State, I was there for close to 25 years.
Wow.
And that whole concept of science into practice or theory into practice, so that the practitioner can actually take all that peer-reviewed knowledge and research and understanding of how everything works and use it in their everyday life is the main tenet of what the foundation does. And, Jo, as we said, Jo-Rosie, we're doing 4 episodes with her. She talks about that.
Yes.
And the next, so here's your stay tuned for more, because we do really delve into some really deep theoretical kind of, this is the research type of stuff that we have to go do additional reading.
Geeks, prepare. If you're geeky out there, you're about to get a real treat.
Oh yeah, talk about drinking from a fire hose too.
Yes.
That's what I love about Jo-Rosie, though. She digs deep and then she's able to bring it back and make it as simple as it needs to be. And I think too, us as instructors, and this is the Scent for Six, the way they worked it too, is you take information from all the different instructors, all the different seminars, all the different places, And then we're able to put it in a way that makes it make sense. Like you can go learn all this stuff, but when someone can bring all of it together and then combine it, and that's that collaborative piece. And I think that's what I love about the School of Canine Science, and then also here at the Canine Detection Collaborative.
Yeah, absolutely. That the collaboration, and collaboration is kind of the word, right? And if you guys want to check out Canine Detection Collaborative, you can find our other podcasts, you can find our socials. You can reach out to us if you want to collaborate with us in some way or another, and we will be back with more Jo-Rosie, more reflections, and a whole lot more. So make sure you check us out.
Canine Detection Collaborative! We appreciate the time you spend with us. If you liked this episode, not only should you follow us so you don't miss the next one, but please also rate and review us in your favorite podcast app. For info on collaborating with us, go to k9detectioncollaborative.com. That's K9detectioncollaborative.com, where you can find our socials and pick up our latest monthly freebie. Join us again to talk training in the next episode.